Ooh-wee, I have got a red hot, spicy, super successful guest with me today, and it is none other than the amazing Forbes Riley. Forbes is one of today's leading female entrepreneurs with over $2.5 billion, yes, billion dollars in sales and a rapidly growing fitness empire. She is an incredible woman. She is filled with so much power and inspiration. She's one of the top female motivational speakers, and she has touched the hearts of thousands of people already. And in this episode, we go deep. I'm talking deep, you guys. Both Forbes and I cry in this episode. I was honestly gonna take this episode a whole different direction, and I'm so glad that I just surrendered to the flow and we went someplace that I did not anticipate to go. And she actually took me through a process that I want you to actually go along and do with me as she's taking me through it. Very powerful. I had a very healing, transformative moment on this call with her. So I'm not gonna spoil it anymore. I'm just so excited for you to meet her, to experience her, and I just know you're gonna love this episode. She's super fun, powerful, and she's also not scared to get vulnerable, raw, and real. So without further ado, meet the amazing Forbes Riley. Forbes Riley, by the way, probably the coolest name I've ever heard. Can we just start there? Like, tell me the story of how you even, that's like the best name I've ever heard.
Well, it's also one of the best stories ever because I have this whole concept. I wrote a concept many years ago called Redefinitions. That one of the problems with your life is that other people define you. They tell you that you're a girl or a boy or old or young or fat or whatever they tell you, and you start to believe that because you hear it often enough. And I took it so far as to, when I had twins, one has a penis, the other doesn't. One's a girl, one's a boy. Well, apparently Caitlyn Jenner was not Bruce Jenner just because they had those parts. So one of the things about finding your own life is defining who you are. I don't think Angelina Jolie would be as sexy if her name was Esther Birnbaum. Now, nothing against Esther Birnbaum, but I'm going to tell you that she's probably a lawyer or married to a very nice doctor. I've met her many times. But it is funny how things define you, right? And so I set out redefining things. And the funny thing is, about 1950s, my uncle could not get into engineering school with the last name of Feinstein. And so my grandmother, very ahead of her time, woman who lived to 96, opened the yellow pages. That's something that Google had before Google was there. And went eeny, meeny, miny, Forbes. And that became my dad's and my uncle's last name, Forbes. And so it meant a lot to me. It meant, assimilation. It meant success. It meant doing whatever it takes. And so I was born with the name Francine Forbes. And actually it was Francine Kadish Forbes, because in my culture, you take your mother's maiden name. Well, how embarrassing is that when everybody is Mary Sue and Bobby Joe and I'm Francine Kadish Forbes? I could have been Francine Kadish Feinstein. Then I would own the law firm. Anyway, long story short, names are very, very important to me. But so is image. And I talk about, and I'm sure you understand this, Ashley, that you're the coffee in the cup. You don't see what's around you. I grew up as a very ugly little girl with a broken nose, frizzy hair, braces, overweight. And so I had this image of myself and that had to have been transformed. But in my 30s, I bumped into a guy. I had just broken my knee. It sounds like I break a lot of things, but it's been a long life. And I had been out of the business for a year. I got my massage therapy license. I was going in a bit of a different direction. I had a hard time walking. I had reconstruction, and anyway. But at one moment, I was kind of down and out. Somebody said this gentleman is an image consultant. He's $75 for the hour. Now you can imagine 20 years ago, that was actually a lot of money. And I hadn't been working, but I took my money, I sent him my photos and my video, and I go to this Keebler Cookie Hut house in the middle of Laurel Canyon, California. And this short little wiry haired black man walks out, looks up to me and says, "You should never leave the house without makeup. Yeah, I get that you're a star, but you're not Julia Roberts. You're more like Sharon Stone. Come on in." I'm like,
oh my gosh.
That was okay. And then he proceeds to tell me everything he doesn't like about me. Get out a pen. You need to have your colors done. You don't know if you're gold or a silver. Your clothes need to be different. Your hair needs to be cut and colored. The point of this story was, he then said to me after all those things, he said, "And I don't like your name." And I remember saying to him, his name was Hank Barron. I'm like, "I don't like anything about you, dude. You make me feel horrible." And he said, "What's your dog's name? What street did you grow up on?" I'm like, "Snoopy Arrow. That's not even a good porn name." And then he asked, who are you living with? And at the time I was living with a guy named Tom Riley, who would then become the father of my children. And he said, Forbes Riley, that's it, now leave. And I walked out the door with a piece of paper of all the things I was supposed to do that I couldn't afford to even figure out, and a name that sounded like a law firm. And I went home to 26-year-old Tom Riley, who was a 6'6" Notre Dame football player. And I told him all of these things, and he agreed with every one of them. And I thought, how odd. I said, well, I think I said the word asshole. I said, hey, asshole, he wants me to take your name, because I was furious. And he said, you know what? He said, that's exactly who you are. Now, what's this? Yeah. Now, what's the moral of this whole story? Well, that one person in 1 hour can change your life. If somebody can open your eyes to a new way of seeing things, that you might want to listen. And what I had to do at that point, and it was very profound for me, and I'd never done it before, was I surrendered. I went down that list and did everything that he said. I got my hair cut and colored. I figured out that I'm an autumn, and that orange and greens that I really don't like look great on my skin. And I learned a lot of those things about image, because I know you talk about professional image when it comes to your website and your brand. Mine became, what does it mean to be this person? I'm on television a lot, long before Facebook and all these things started. And there's a certain persona that you actually can create if you choose to. And so that was about 28 years ago. And every day since then, someone comments on my name. And the story just reminds me of the kind of work, the step-by-step work that it takes to be successful. A lot of the work that you don't see. You just assume you walk in looking beautiful. I have to tell you, you and I talked a little bit about some of the men in this world, the Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Tai Lopez, Grant Cardone. Shame on them. You know why? They have 400 hours a year more than you and I do. You know why? Why? Because I got to do the lashes. I got to do the hair. It was 45 minutes getting ready for this morning. Are you kidding me? 45 minutes. That's not including the hair color and the nails and the other. By every year, 400 hours on the beauty concept. I've watched Tony Robbins roll out of bed in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, captivate 10,000 people. I am deciding, is it Spanx, high heels, low heels, a dress, now a short? Maybe I should wear a pantsuit. I don't know about today. Am I wearing gold? Oh my God. Do you know how much time it takes to be a woman? It is why we are not as quite successful. And then, by the way, the ones that are successful, like Ellen and Julia Roberts, they're gay. It's okay. I can wear pants. I don't ever need to wear a dress. So if you're a straight female, you are so screwed.
That's why I love Forbes, you guys. She just keeps it so real. So I just love that you said that. It's so true. I was just talking about this the other day. I'm like, okay, you're complaining about your feet. I've been wearing these heels for the last 4 hours. Like, please do not complain about your feet hurting right now.
Girlfriend, when I saw Tony Robbins' I Am Not Your Guru, I wanted to do the other version called I Am Not Your Guru Either. The bitch of being a female speaker. Do you know where the mic pack goes when you're wearing a skinny dress? It goes up between your legs, okay? And you know that the sound guy's got to figure that out. Or it's in your bra. Or the other day, my actually turned off, and on stage, somebody had to unzip my dress trying to figure out where, and I just stood there on stage going, figure it out. I'm not embarrassed. There's a lot of YouTubers that are going to love if my dress falls off right now. Keep going.
Oh my God, I love it.
It's a different experience. And I'm very proud to stand there as a role model who's gone down that road. I mean, I've been on television for 28 years of my life. I've hosted 180 infomercials, decades, what a ridiculous thing, decades of home shopping. And then I decided to take matters into my own hand, and I created my little SpinGym here. And I will tell you, this has now been on the market for 10 years. I went through hell. I was on a national reality TV show and got my head handed to me, and 5,000 YouTubers later the next morning after the airing, based on something I actually didn't say. Reality TV apparently isn't reality, and they can edit any way they want. So they made me out to a couple of things that were so not true, so hurtful, that anybody less than me would have wisely crawled into a hole and said, I'm not going to do this. Because my partner said the next morning, he said, wow, that was tough. What are you going to do now? I said, I'm going to make and sell SpinGyms. And he said, well, nobody thinks it's going to work. And I said, they're wrong. He said, well, they can't all be wrong. And I looked at him for the first time in my life and said, but they are. I know women. I know women want sexy arms. I know this. I don't care what you think of this thing. If you haven't tried it, you haven't earned the right to tell me what it does. There's no difference. But
can I just say $2.5 billion plus in sales later, guys, just so you know, just so you're aware. This woman
Well,
is incredidible.
that came out of, I have an ear for pitching. You know, you talked about branding and copywriting. I am not a very, I don't put words to paper the way I could, although I've got a couple of new books. I have a new book coming out called What Have You Forbesed Lately? To Forbes something means to manifest it, especially when no one thinks you can do it. So my love, what have you Forbesed lately?
Oh, girl. So right now, and those of you listening, if you're following my story, you know this. I am traveling the world and running a successful six-figure business from anywhere in the world. Like, this has been my dream. This has been everything. So for me to manifest this in my life, for me to Forbes this is like, I can't even explain. The other day, today I was on the bike and I had tears. You ever get that where it's like it hits you? And I had tears in my eyes where it's like, I'm also creating massive impact. I'm feeling like the best version of myself. I'm traveling the world, experiencing these amazing people here that have hearts of gold that just want to like, it is next level where I'm at right now. So yes, thank you for asking me that question. Cause it's an opportunity for me to look in and be like, wow, this is what I've
Okay.
Forbes, man.
Okay. So while all that sounds totally groovy, here's my complaint. I'm in my house in America and I can't get my cell phone to work inside. Okay. Can you explain to me, how are you getting internet in the middle of Bali? Okay. Seriously.
This is a digital nomad hub. A lot of people don't know that. So great Wi-Fi everywhere. And you wouldn't think so. Not like, so the main parts of Bali, like we're all like Ubud, you know, the Canggu, I'm in Canggu right now. Wi-Fi is amazing. It's like super fast because this is where, if you meet people here, there's like Australians, people from all over that move here because it's such an amazing spot for inspiration and flow and being in the zone. I mean, I'm excited for you to experience it, Forbes. It's like,
do you know what? I have a funny theory that God, I've never seen a burning bush. Have you seen a burning bush? And we talk to burning. I love when God says, well, God told me that. I'm like, well, I don't know. Do you have God's number? Because I'd like to call him right now. No, I know that when you get quiet, you can hear God, but I also have this vast vision that you can hear him or her. Sometimes I like to call her Susan. I know, I'm crazy. To hear through other people speak. And it's very funny that you and I are talking right now that you're in Bali, because I'm going through a massive transition in my life. And we talk about that life happens for you, not to you. Mm-hmm. I don't really care what happens to you. Do you know that 3 days ago, and I haven't talked about this publicly yet, 2 years ago, Joshua and I were eyewitnesses to the Las Vegas shooting at the Mandalay Bay. Everything that you saw that happened overhead that made the news came from my iPhone. It was a bizarre, insanely tragic day. But yes and no. If you lost your life and it was your family member, it was tragic. If you realized and reconnected with loved ones because of that, it was not so tragic, if you know what I'm saying. I went through the murder of a little boy that I raised for 12 years. He was shot and killed on the streets of Los Angeles just for wearing blue. And so you always go through these things and how you deal with them. And I think it's very, very important for all of your listeners to know from somebody who's got, when you're in your 30s, you're maybe a third of the way through your life. If you're lucky, 50s, you're kind of halfway. I will tell you, perspective changes. I'm at that point now, which is really fascinating. You will all get there if you're lucky, and it will feel as odd, I'm sure, as it feels for me that my children are turning 17 when just yesterday I gave birth to twins. And it does go very, very fast. And when you start to lose people that you love, you're like, wow, what is all this mean? And I keep hearing the word Bali. You're like the third person who said something about that. And I'm like, maybe that's the universe just knocking on my head. Time to let go of some material things. Time to transition yet again. You never stop, which is crazy. One of my best friends is Jack LaLanne's wife. She is 93 years old and still going strong and does man push-ups and has the most beautiful life. And I know that she doesn't feel 93, and I know it's hard because your eyes start to go and your body starts to go and it's not the same as it was. But I will tell you, just really crazy that we're talking this morning.
Girl, go all the way with this. I'm with you.
It's just, for somebody who's lived a very crazy nomadic life, change is still hard. I don't know that I want to change it all again. I mean, I'm looking at selling my television studio and maybe just picking up everything and just going to Bali. I don't know. Wouldn't that be funny that you were the final catalyst in all of that?
I love it. I love it. And I mean, I believe what you, same as you believe. I mean, it's all happening for us. So, I mean, just the fact that you had that emotional reaction just then is like, there's something real there. There's something to be found right there, you know? So.
Well, the other part of my life that I'd love to share is that I'm really in love. I'm really in love. Thought I was in love at 20, thought I was in love at 30, got married at 30, thought I was not in love at 40, and then finally found someone that is just the most special person in the world. I don't know that I thought that existed. However, I didn't leave it to chance. I also did not leave it to Tinder. But yeah. But what I did do was to manifest it. And I will share with you that if you believe, first of all, whatever you believe is true and not true. That's the word lie in the middle of believe, L-I-E. It's a lie. I don't care what you believe. You can believe you're pretty. You can believe you're stupid. You can believe I don't care what you believe, you're wrong. It doesn't matter. So when you come to that metaphorical sense of it, I just believe it, right? You can believe yourself well. I mean, you can really create all kind of things with this word believe. So to manifest things is such a reality. And how do you know this? Is that if you look around you at everything, the computer that you're talking on right now, somebody created that. That was manifested out of somebody's brain. Everything that I look at, this Sharpie, this hair curler, it doesn't matter. Somebody had to think about it and dream it before it happened. And so often as entrepreneurs, we don't have a plan. And I know, and by the way, not having a plan sometimes works, and it will work for a long time. You can throw stuff against a wall. Mm-hmm. But an architect cannot build a building with no plan. They have a detailed plan so specific that they can hand it to a framer, an electrician, and everybody knows even where the tiniest little wire goes in a skyscraper. Entrepreneurs don't do that. We don't plan, most of us. And it's really important at whatever level that you do that you can architect what you want and to see it literally on paper, on the web, and go, I'm going to build this. Mm-hmm. And then to have no limits to what that could be. So when I wanted a man in my life, first of all, if you get burned a lot, you stop wanting anything. You go, at least for me, this was my journey. I reverted back to the, I am not enough. I'm not worthy. I don't mind suffering. At least it's familiar.
Yep.
So my ladies who stay in abusive relationships or fighting their weight have come to agree with themselves that bad is okay. And if you never know really good, bad is okay. And you continue to create bad. It's fascinating to me. But I started to shift. It was funny because I used to look at wedding dresses. I got to this weird point where I'm like, oh, what idiots. They're going to spend all that money. It's not going to last. Okay, Scrooge. But that was the feeling when I would see a wedding. I would get an anger in my stomach. And one day, somebody called me on it and said, hey, you know, are you married? I'm like, oh, yeah, like for 25 years. He said, well, I don't see any photos. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then he said, don't take this the wrong way, Forbes. I love you. You're a powerful speaker. You're moving mountains. You're trailblazing, but there's something missing. And I had that little arrogant going, oh yeah, okay. And he said, it's love. And I remember I was actually driving on an over ramp in Orlando. This is how important this one moment was to me. And this is just a friend, or was it God speaking through my friend? Mm-hmm. And I was shaken to my core. And I had one of those moments where I coached myself and I sat down kind of quiet and I said, wow, I don't think anybody was going to notice. I mean, I love everybody. I, hug people after speeches and I'm giving autographs and I donate my time, but I wasn't being loved. And I was, aside from my children. And so I sat down and made a plan. And you want to hear how goofy a plan can look? My plan was to take pictures of Cindy Crawford and Randy Gerber. And if you look at them, you'll see this beautiful, what I perceive on the outside as a beautiful couple. I looked at Gabriella Reese and Laird Hamilton. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, look them up. They are power couples in the most beautiful sense. The final one was Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen. And I looked at them and thought, you know what? I don't actually just want a man. I want a power couple. I want to go through life and have an impact. And then I sat on it and I visioned it and I put it on my board and I just played with it in the way that the universe likes to. So you can't force stuff in the universe. That's when God does laugh, go, ho, ho, ho. But you can nudge it gently. And then one day all the hard work I do with my SpinGym, right? Because this has been my life, and I've gone through a lot of hell to make this product successful. I'm in Las Vegas doing a video shoot, and my amazing videographer says, hey, 6 o'clock at night, do you want a 2-time Mr. Arnold physique champion to come on over and help us? I'm thinking, seriously. There's a knock at the door. I open the door, and there's a very beautiful human being, which I don't think anything of. I've seen a lot of human beings that are beautiful because I always take people that get their shirts off in SpinGym. He works out with us for a while, and then we leave. He's smart enough to pursue me on the internet, to pursue a conversation. And then this hunky guy that you might dismiss as being all, kind of a meathead, says to me, he says, I'm going to drive out from Vegas on my motorcycle to California to see you because something tells me that you need me. Talk about having you at, that was 2.5 years ago.
Oh.
And I understand what it means to, and I'll tell you what, love looks like, it looks different for everybody. But this is what I needed. I need somebody who's saying, you're the only girl in the world. I don't really care how old, how young. He's 17 years younger than me. He is super, super fit. He's a reigning Mr. World. And you know what? And I have fun with that. But at the end of the day, I've got a little boy who loves a little girl. And we could just run away and go, this would be fine for the rest of my life.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I love so much of what you said. I just want to unpack some key points for the listeners because that was just, that story in of itself says so much. So in the beginning, when you were saying you were carrying around that kind of resentment, right? Against like, oh, wedding dresses, Scrooge kind of mentality, it's like, so those of you listening, ask yourselves, what are you pretending not to know? Like, what are you pretending?
Oh my God, that's my teaching, girlfriend.
No way.
That is one of my key.
We are aligned.
That is one of my key questions, and I rail on people about that. Love you for saying that. Yes, I've never heard anyone else say that. Woo!
Woo! Okay, love it. So yes, Forbes agrees with me. Ask yourself the question, what are you pretending not to know? And just get real with yourself, guys. Like Forbes just got super real with us quite a few times already in this episode. So then what I love that you said, which is so key, is then you started, once you realized, okay, I want love. Then you started actually creating the vision, like what you see. You started looking at people who have what you wanted. Like this is a huge part of the vision process that I feel like so many people don't do. Like, I don't know. I'd love to hear why you think people don't do it. I feel like a part of it is fear of it not working out. So like just getting like actually picking things out like that might make it even more real to them that it is possible. And then B is like, you're just being lazy. You're just being lazy and you're not taking the time to actually draw out what you want to create and create the plan, right?
Oh, you know what? I love you, but do me a favor. I don't think anybody's lazy. I think people do things out of fear or don't do them. So I have a couple of games I play and I love you because I think you've got a very powerful audience. So 2 things that I ask people, I actually can make a prediction about you. Can you see your chat box? Yes. I want you to cover up your chat box. I'm going to make a prediction about you. May I do that?
Yes, let's do it.
So I'm going to make a little prediction about you. What is your first memory in life?
Do you want me to tell you?
Yep.
Oh gosh, you're going to laugh. I'm like 3 or 4 years old. I'm dancing to Ice Ice Baby.
Okay. So what decision does a little girl make about life based on that moment?
Self-expression. Like I can be free to express myself. And
so the word freedom is important. Okay.
Freedom.
Now let me share something with you. I play this game with thousands of people. I now have a point in my life where I am perceptive enough that your decision about life, by the way, runs your entire world, just so you know. And it happens at the very first decision. And here's what's interesting about decisions. I got 2 clients. One falls out of a tree, breaks his leg as a young kid. No parents are not there. Strangers rush him to the hospital. And his decision about life is, oh my God, people will always be there to help you. He becomes a pastor. Other kid falls out of a tree, breaks his leg. Mom and dad are not there. Strangers take him to the hospital. And his reaction is, screw mom and dad. They're never there. And hard people are horrible. And he doesn't trust anybody. And he's kind of a radical. Was it the same incident, but different decisions? Those decisions I've come to understand in my work, a thing that I do called Forbes Factor, drives you. So before you said that I made a decision, I made an observation about you and I made a prediction of what you would say, open your chat And one of the words that you said, I said as well. And that's not true of anybody else but you.
Yeah.
And the reason that you run your life the way you are and the way you show up because of you are is because of the decision. Now, most people, not most, many, I want to say in the high 80 percentile, fixate on the tragic thing that happened to them at about 3, 4, or 5. And again, you didn't say a birthday. What was your memory?
I was dancing to Ice Ice Baby.
Right, but think about that. You had birthdays and, time in bed with your parents. You had baths. That was the one moment that you remember. And it's not really your first memory, but it is what drives your entire being. And how beautiful and lucky for you. For people who have a decision that says, I'm not enough because mom and dad were yelling and screaming, or men are horrible, and they go through their lives having many, many relationships, it comes back down to that. And that's a fixable moment because it's not real. That memory is not real. It is what you choose to remember.
Yep.
And it can be shifted. And that's been so exciting with the work that I've done with NLP and hypnosis. And again, this thing called Forbes Factor. I go around healing people. So for example, the other night at dinner, and sometimes I do it at dinner because the calling is so loud for me. Gentleman that I met, a real estate guy, twins, says that he's hit by a young boy in a car kind of thing when he was 10 years old, mangled, and the kid buried him and left him for dead. That's an intense moment, right? Then a week later, after he was recovering, his best friend was killed on a bicycle. His entire life is driven by this anger. And how do I know that? So I asked him at dinner, I said, if this guy walked in now, what would you do? And he said, I'd kill him. I'd hit him with a bat and mash him. And wow, okay. So we went through my exercise. I have a healing exercise that I do. And at the end of this, it's mostly about fixing you. All I will tell you is that when we went through this exercise at dinner, at the end of it, and it took a while for him to get where I wanted him to go, and his wife and my girlfriend are crying in the corner watching him go through this, but I'm a little relentless because a friend loves you the way you are. Forbes Riley loves you way too much to leave you that way. At the end of all of this, a lot of tears, he looked at me and he said, wow. He said, if the guy walked in now, I just have to hug him and tell him that I'm okay and tell him that I'm successful because of the decisions I made about what happened to me, because of my will to survive. And I've just let all that hate go. The next morning, he looked at my video camera on my phone and said, I feel like a ton of bricks have been taken off my head. I can't explain to you how light I feel, how different I feel.
Wow.
And so that work I will continue to do for the rest of my life because I see things for people in the way that I saw the word freedom for you. It's an important word for you. And you can see it. Here's what's funny, guys. You don't have to tell me who you are. It shows up before you do.
And you know what? So crazy, Forbes. So not only did that come out in, like, I'm just connecting it all now. Not only did that come out and when you asked how I felt when that moment was happening as a child, right? I said like freedom of expression, freedom, right? Well, I have a personal contract with myself. And my contract with myself is I am a free, courageous, authentic leader. What's the freaking first word in my contract? And I built that contract 3 years ago.
Okay, if you're on a podcast and you cannot see what I wrote, I literally, in a chat that she could not see, I predicted words. The words were love, freedom, supporting others. That's what came out before you said it. So girl, you're on your mission and it shows, just so you know, which is really clear and really beautiful because so many people that I talk to, now you did not have a trauma in your teens, did you?
I did have one trauma, my preteens.
Okay, which was?
I was sexually assaulted, nearly raped. I ran for my life and escaped.
How old were you?
I didn't mean to rhyme. That just rhymed. I was 14. And
so I was 16. Isn't that funny? This is the difference again about being a girl that men don't understand. That men who, and this would be fun to have, I really do want to do a thing called the healing because this conversation is never talked about. At least not in the way that I'm choosing to talk about it. Because that one moment, you overcame it, but it's always, there's a little lingering of this. For me, I had no money growing up because my dad had a horrible industrial accident and cut off the front of his hand. So we didn't have any money growing up. And so I was 16 years old, dancing professionally in Washington, D.C. the summer that Haagen-Dazs and deep dish pizza came out. I put on 15 pounds, which really sucked because I was very upset about what had happened. But I was in a clothing store, and this gentleman, East Indian gentleman, was like, oh, that looks so good on you, and this looks so good on you. Maybe I give this one to you for free. And I was like, oh, the word free meant a lot to me because I didn't have a lot of money. And he said, yeah, come downstairs. I have some more. I just got in these beautiful new dresses. Here, try this one on. And while I was dressing in a downstairs dressing room, he grabbed me, threw me into a pile of clothes, and proceeded to, try to do whatever. And I ended up having to run out of this store completely butt-ass naked.
Wow.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing for all my people who are listening, men and women. If this happened to you on any level, it doesn't matter what happened, it will taint you a little bit. And I do think that you need to talk about it, work through it, and get over it, because it's not happening now, although mine still haunts me a little bit. But even one of my clients, her brother at 9 years old, stuck his dick in her mouth. She was 5 years old. She knew it was wrong, ran to her mother. Her mother wanted nothing to do with it. I will tell you that one incident messed that entire family up. And we're talking to the point severely. One of the brothers is dead. One of the brothers is a drug addict. And my girl, who now is better, was just a repressed, closed off, brittle girl that you see those girls and you're like, God, why can't she just smile? So it doesn't matter if you have a toenail that's a little out of line and somebody had their leg amputated. Your little toenail ingrown is no less worse. So we don't compare it. If it's bad for you,
it's important.
So how did you heal from that, do you think?
Oh my gosh. So at the time, I was super involved in church, and I worked with my youth pastor, and I wrote letters. So I would write letters to him. And at first they started out really angry and like I was scared as well. So it was like anger mixed with like fear. And I held on a lot of shame because I felt like it was my fault for the longest time. Like I put myself in that position, shame on me. So I was carrying a lot of that guilt. So I wrote letters to him and finally got to this place where my letters turned into something very compassionate, very peaceful, in a totally different space than when I started. And then I did some really major work in this training that I went to. It's called ALA. I talk about it a lot, but it's in San Diego. And I got to basically confront him and go head through it. And it was a process that took maybe 10 minutes. It was that probably did the most for me in terms of my healing and letting go.
Are you involved in a relationship?
No.
Okay. When you think about this guy now, what's your thought process?
Right now, it's more like, I wonder if he's healed. Whenever I think about him now, it's more like, I wonder if because he ended up getting 7 years in prison. So I wonder, what did that do for him? I know he has a big family, what is his life with his family like now?
Why do you spend any time wondering about him?
Well, I don't, but when people ask me, that's what it is. And then for example, I had a conversation actually a couple months ago where it came out. The person had asked me about if I'd ever experienced any trauma, and I just started sharing the experience. And then when I think about him, that's really my only thought is I just kind of wonder if he's healed himself.
And so what would you say, because I want your listeners to really appreciate this. Mm-hmm. What would you say that incident did for you?
Oh my gosh. For me, it taught me to trust myself, which is such a crazy thing because it seems like such the opposite. Because I didn't. When I initially had that experience, I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself to be in the same room as a man because I thought that there's something about me that's going to cause another experience like that.
So let me share something with you. You and I, again, we started this conversation with all of these men who are very much in the self-development space, the Gary, Grant, Tony. You hear them talk about business all the time. And I will tell you what, I'm going to say, maybe they did, but I'm going to probably predict that none of them had a sexual experience that was hurtful. I will tell you as a little girl, we carry all this stuff. And it is fascinating for women to begin a healing. Number one, whatever traumatic happened to you, I do think you need to go through it. I love that you have a training. I have a thing called ForbesFactorLive.com that I actually take people through this. I can even heal people over a Zoom call, because part of it is to get that emotional, get back in touch with this. I hear these words, and if you've said them, you need to talk to me. If you've said the words, oh, I forgave him, bullshit. First of all, you don't have the power to forgive anybody. It's not your job to forgive, and that's not a healing word. I'm not care about you forgiving somebody. I care about you going through an emotional rewiring of what happened, and to truly own in your soul that what happened to you and the way that you dealt with it made you who you are, and congratulations for still being here. And I'm not kidding. With an energy and a passion going, you know what? Screw it, I am still here because I am a powerful, strong woman. That did not defeat me. I did not cause this. And then the next thing is to thank that person. Thank that I had a woman who thanked the man who killed her brother. Thank you. That goes against every fiber of your being. But I will tell you, I'm not trying to heal him. I don't really care what happened to him. He's irrelevant. He doesn't exist. He's a memory. It is you I want to heal. And so when you say thank you for interrupting the beautiful, mythical version of my life, like the gentleman who killed my son who I raised for 12 years. Thank you. Thank you for waking me up to saying that there is injustice in the world, and part of my role on this planet is to be an advocate for mentors, because the kid who killed him didn't have a dad, didn't have a mechanism when he found his mother's gun to do something, didn't have a mechanism to not join a gang. So all of his angst and all of his bullshit in his life intersected with mine. Wow. Dexter paid the ultimate price for it, but I'm not letting his memory die. So I talk about it all the time. And I will tell you how fascinating for a lily white girl from Long Island, New York, to stand there in an urban community and go, yeah, who here's had somebody they love get murdered? Who's here had 2? I've had 3 murders in my life. I don't know how that happened, but I will tell you it's because I'm a voice for change. I'm an activist and a disruptor. And if it didn't happen to me, I'd be sitting on a beach, sipping cocktails, not being this person. So yay, okay? How crazy, I know, to love and embrace that. And then the other side of this, and it goes the last deep step, and this is a hard one, is for you to actually say out loud with your entire heart that you love that person. Can you say that about that guy?
I love Joshua. I've never actually said those words.
You're making me cry just by saying it, just so you know, because I just felt everything come back. If you don't say that for real, without all the eye rolling, then you don't get to own who you are now.
Yeah. Thank you.
So say it.
I love you, Joshua.
Because what did you do for me?
You taught me how to trust myself. You taught me that I'm resilient, that I
What
have.
else?
You taught me that I'm worthy, that I am actually truly worthy. Worthy of love.
How much do you love him now?
I do. I feel it.
And you feel how much more powerful that is than wondering what happened to him? Just love him. Just go, you know what? Here's the other thing too, and this is a reality I've come to understand. Everybody does the best they can at that moment. The bum on the side of the street who's in a bottle is doing the very best he can at that moment. Yeah. If he could be doing better, he would. Yeah. Somebody who acts out and hurts somebody else. And by the way, I'm not any altruistic. I just understand how human nature works, is because they were beaten. They were put down. They are acting out. They're doing the best they can. That's interesting. If you're in an abusive relationship, you need to leave because you cannot change people. They are doing the best they can at that moment, given their own circumstances. Your job, if you don't like it, is just to leave. It is why Mark Zuckerberg made the word delete. Delete people from your life that don't serve you. But you've got to, I will tell you, Miss Ashley, you've got to honestly, in your heart, say, I love you. Because that person was that broken, but their actions on you changing the course of your river made you who you are. You travel the world now. You inspire others. You are a physically beautiful woman who deserves love. And only will you find that when you love this person and let him go, because the hate that you just felt the first time you said it is what's living in your heart and keeping you from your perfect partner.
Wow. That's so powerful. And yeah, I see that. I see that. And I mean, for those of you listening, I'm trusting that there are quite a few of you who have just went through that with me. And it's something that I had not even thought of it that way. I had not even thought of it as, like, if you had asked me what I did, I would have said I forgave him. So I love that you said it's not about that. And it's like, F forgiving them. It's about thanking them. It's about thanking them and loving them. Well, because in that moment, you're getting your power back. Like when I said that, it felt, it feels, I was just gonna say, it feels freeing. It feels freeing.
Yo, that is when I usually take over the screen. And I got to tell you, we usually go through a healing song because I find that empowers us so much. But after you go through that, I'm going to tell you guys the best thing that you can do when you go through an emotional moment. And again, this is just my way of doing life, but it seems to work, is that you go through it, you experience it, and then wait for it. And then you dance. Come on, put your hands up.
Hey, come on, put your hands up. Only you can hear it.
That's what I do. Come on, raise your hands, Ashley. Brandon, we got some shit to shoot. Come on, love that, man. I'm serious. Woo! You have got to move your body. I know. Come on, girl. Just feel it. Yeah! She is up. She is dancing. One more chorus. Come on, go. Move those hands. Don't you stop. Come on. This is your whole life, my girl. This is us dancing at your wedding. You wanna me, I got what I do. You're my... Wait. All right, I will let that go, but I got to tell you how you feel right now. No, seriously, come on, changing your state.
I freaking love you. Hey, what was my first memory? Dancing.
Right.
Girl,
yes, I know. I got you.
For first memory, and then this is, I love it. Ties it all together.
So here's what I want from you. I want you to share this thing that you just experienced. I got to tell you, I am calling this the healing because it works. And it works. I don't need to pre-meet somebody. I have people crying in shopping centers meeting me. I got to tell you, I don't necessarily have them. I have a thing in my world. If you say, I don't know, I slap you in the head. I know, it's my thing. Why? Because as adults, we say that word all the time. I don't really care. How did you get to Bali? Who knows? Who knows how you do anything? Just do it. So my vision out here is that if I tell and do this with enough people, the healing tour will happen. Because I can do, this is, I think, one of the things I'm put on this planet to do. It's why I'm still here. It's why I survived having dear people that I know in my life murdered, getting on Flight United 93 and not getting on that plane, seeing the October 1st. I got to tell you, I'm here for a real reason. And it's odd, but I'm just going to keep doing these. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, because I think your audience is going, wait, I have to Google Forbes Riley? Because online, you don't see this part of me yet. I hate the web, by the way. If you are older and you grew up with a phone attached to the wall, yeah, and you know what a payphone is and an 8-track cassette player, you and the web have a little bit of a disconnect. No, but it's funny because I talk to people who are in their 20s, and my kids are 16, grew up with a phone in their hand, very different. So my web world doesn't quite jive with who I am and how powerful I am. But I'm on a mission, and I'm on a mass mission of change and disruption. And can you imagine when I have this conversation with Gary? And by the way, it's funny. I have to reach out again to Lewis Howes. Lewis, I was at a mastermind at Lewis's house when nobody knew who any of us were. He found me on a stage and said, "He come to a mastermind." And my first question was, "What's a mastermind?" And we're talking Perry Belcher and Maria Forleo and Greg Reed and all these master of what they are now were in that room. And I was there at the book signing when Lewis, this big, tall, sexy football player, internet marketer, revealed that he'd been sexually molested. And Oprah Winfrey, sexually molested. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of healing that needs to go on. And I see some people putting Band-Aids on a broken leg, and I can fix things. I just need to get out there and have access to it. And when you're sensitive, you don't like rejection. So I'm kind of shy on some level. So I do it this way. The last thing I'm going to leave you in your audience with, though, is, and you said it earlier, is about what you want. And you had said people are lazy. It's not that. It's the way society has helped program us. So let me play a game with you, and I'm going to do the game, and you're going to play it full out because it affects the people listening. So here's how it goes. You just cannot repeat the same answer. You have to let me interrupt you because I'm quite a while. That's how the game works. And just make them short. And we'll play it for about a minute. So beautiful, Miss Ashley, what do you want?
Love.
What do you want?
Take my braids out.
What do you want?
To travel the world.
What do you want?
To experience different cultures.
What do you want?
To be successful.
What do you want?
To be in Forbes magazine.
What do you want?
To impact millions of lives.
What do you want?
To show women that they matter and they're worthy.
Thank you. What do you want?
I want to love myself to my absolute fullest.
What do you want?
I want to experience passionate, amazing love.
I'm getting there. What do you want?
I want to experience true freedom, like unadulterated freedom.
What do you want?
I want a family.
What do you want?
I want kids.
What do you want?
I want to live out my truest self and my truest purpose and feel in purpose.
What do you want?
Family.
You said that one. What do you want?
I want a best friend.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you want?
I want someone who I can trust.
What do you want?
I want to trust myself.
What do you want? Closer.
Trust God. Surrender.
What do you want? Don't shake your head no. I can see that. I can feel all of that. One more time, what do you want?
I want to love and trust myself fully.
Okay, if you're watching this on a visual, you just saw Ashley go through a journey because you're willing to go there. And maybe that's why you're in Bali. Maybe that's why it's been beautiful talking to you this morning, because you took, and you should watch this back. You went from that, and we all do this frivolous, I want money, I want freedom, I want to travel, to very quiet, very deep, and finally answering the question. And it's a powerful question that you can ask yourself over and over again. It's good to have somebody push you. The first 10 times I did this, I don't think I said anything. The 11th time I said it, I got to an interesting bottom where what I wanted, because it will surprise you. The truth is, what you want lives somewhere underneath all the stuff that you think you want. Let me say that one more time. What you want lives underneath the stuff of all the things that you think you want. And when you get to your core, and that's the joy of this game, it's like a meditation, but it's better because it forces you. You had a moment there where you ran out of things and your brain had to search itself. Your brain had to go, wait, if there's nothing left in the brain, maybe we have to look in the heart. Does she have a cabinet? She's storing something we don't know? And you start to go on this journey inside of yourself that is, and we see it on your face, which is so amazing. And you get, your voice will lower when you finally access what you really want. And for me, the first thing that came out was that I wanted every day for someone to say I inspired them. Wow, that shocked me. And do you know how hard you have to work every day for someone to say or write you? I get it every day now, thanks to social media, on my Instagram DMs, on my people. I have a 13-year-old kid who just wrote me and said, oh my God, you've inspired me more than anyone has ever. I love you. And that was because I was on a podcast with someone. That is my work. That informs me that I'm doing a good job. I'll leave you with a story about that. Because first of all, how do you feel right now?
I feel like it's kind of like a shaky feeling. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's like, I feel like it's like vibrating through my body.
One of the reasons I had you do this exercise was because when you said earlier about people not getting things they wanted, you said because they're distracted, or you said because they're lazy. And I just take great issue with that because I don't believe anybody is lazy. I believe they're just not aligned and never really understood what they wanted. Mm-hmm. Many of the women I deal with who have had children before the age of 20, no one ever asked them what they wanted. There was no time. They were too busy changing diapers and fending off men and trying to survive. So they didn't have a chance to.
Yeah. So it's like, why would they have that drive? So really laziness is just like it's an output. It's a symptom of something deeper.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody's lazy. The need to survive is too great in humans for a lot of reasons. You get to that state, but it's a state that can be easily shifted. Yeah. You know, procrastination is a state that can be easily shifted. And then I have this thought about, you might want to look around if you're listening to this and look at what you have and take ownership at the deepest level that you created it. If you're not getting what you wanted, I don't even get what I want. You don't want it. You've never articulated it. You've never owned it. What you're doing is you're looking at what other people have and feeling bad and wondering how come you don't have it. The truth is you didn't really want it. If you wanted a Rolls Royce, if that's what you said you wanted at the bottom of I just want a Rolls Royce. Well, I'll tell you what, you can get one for no money. You can become a driver of one. You can become a chauffeur for somebody who's really rich. You know, I wanted to travel when I was a kid. I wanted to be James Bond and we had no money. So I found a way to go to work for Club Med and travel at ski resorts and get paid to travel. People say, I need millions of dollars to travel. No, you don't. I traveled to Europe on $20 a day. You just have to figure out what you wanted. Here's what I wanted a long time ago. I got a book called Europe on $20 a day. I showed my parents who have never left this country. I said, well, I'm going to look at every country and every monument in this book, tear out the pages, and when I come home, I'm going to have just the cover. And then I went and did that. Oh my gosh, I got way more than I wanted. I got the most experience of a lifetime. But the want was literally to just have the cover left when I was finished. Sometimes if you can articulate a want, you'll go through hell and whatever to get it. The other thing too is I think the universe listens to us, okay? Shh, the universe is listening. If you tell the universe that you're not worthy, what do you think you get? Proof that you're not worthy.
Yep.
If you're not, and this happens to so many people, I see it and it just makes me cringe. So let's assume the universe or God or Susan is a lot like Grubhub. You know what Grubhub is? Grubhub is it's a food service. You call them up. They say, hello, ma'am, what would you like? What do you want? And I'm like, I want some food. I'm hungry. That's great. What do you want? I want some chicken. Oh, wait, I had chicken yesterday. I'll have a hamburger. No, I don't want a hamburger. How about China? Ma'am, call us back when you know what you want. Click.
Click.
Hello, ma'am, what would you like? I would like a Caesar salad with extra chicken croutons on the side. 15 minutes later, you know what shows up at your door? At your door, right now. Caesar salad, extra chicken, croutons on the side. That's crazy. How do they know what you wanted? Because you told them.
So good, guys. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that analogy, by the way. That's like one of my favorite analogies I've heard. So for those of you listening right now, write down this exercise that Forbes just took me through. This exercise of asking, have a friend, someone you trust, someone who's close to you, asking you, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And have that friend gets to be committed to you like a maniac on a mission of getting to the core, to the bottom of what you really want. Like this woman.
A maniac on a mission. Hey, Ashley, I'll tell you what, talk about a maniac on a mission, because I will tell you what, this is what I do in my teaching. I'm going to tell you that a friend loves you the way you are. Forbes Riley loves you way too much to leave you that way, because a friend won't push you. Friends like you too much. So maybe because you're in Bali and we're all over the world, I do a training here in St. Pete, Florida. But if you can put it together for a night, maybe you invite 30 of your closest friends from around the world and we do a Zoom intensive healing. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. So for those of you listening, if you're interested, shoot me that DM right away, like ASAP. We get 30 people in, we're going to do it.
Done. We're done. And I'll tell you what, we do and for people who are lucky enough to be in the hot seat to watch this, I guarantee you will witness a miracle on this call. You'll witness a miracle. We just witnessed a miracle in your face. You and I were just dancing about and saying, I love you to somebody who hurt you, that you've been carrying for years. And I'll tell you what, we could do a little bit more work on that, but once it's over, it's done. Get off the therapist couch, get into your life. You can do a healing in 20 minutes. I don't care what the trauma. I've had people who have killed people. I've had people who have had loved ones killed. I mean, we're talking in the middle of war, PTSD. These things are healable. And you know why? And you need to understand this. For the sole reason that they are not happening now. That's what's weird. Your mind will let you believe they are, but they're not. And so if it's not happening now, it's fixable, it's changeable, it's manipulable. Yeah. I do hypnosis, and I don't know how electricity works. Do you? You know, you flip a switch and lights come on. I have no clue how that works. But I'll tell you, if somebody is put into trance and goes through hypnosis, I can get them to forget the number 3. I'm sorry. Yeah, I once had a woman, I did a hypnosis and I said, you cannot remember the number 3. No matter what you do, that number's gone from your memory. Let's count your fingers. She went 1, 2. I said, I would try 4. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Did you actually come in with 6 fingers? And she's like, huh. Let's try it backwards. 5, 4. Oh, at 2, 1. You have an extra thing. We'll just call it the thumb. Maybe it's not really. I swear to God, this is a college-educated CEO woman who couldn't remember the number 3. If you can do that, if that is real, and it is, how amazing can your brain get tweaked to heal you, to be your best friend instead of your worst enemy? Those voices inside of you that say, oh, wait, don't talk to that person. Wait, and you missed opportunities or you're afraid. That is healable. And when you can do that, doesn't the world look a little different for you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, honestly, now it's like, I'm so happy that we're talking about this. I have one of the girls in my course that just came to me, and it just hit me just now, just came to me literally like 3 days ago about how she was raped and how she is like now in this place where she's not letting it go. So she finds herself in these positions where men are taking advantage of her, where men are like, you know, coming at her in these disrespectful ways. And so it's just, I'm going to have her listen to this episode. And I'm just like, I'm so grateful for this, because it's not where, by the way, not at all. That's why, what did you say? Have a plan, but don't be attached to the plan. I mean, I had a plan for this episode, and I was flexible in the fact that I wanted it to go where it was meant to go. And clearly it was meant to go here. I mean, I had a plan. I was going to have you talk about how to introduce yourself and make first impressions and something totally different. And look where we are, talking about your trauma, my trauma, speaking into that, speaking about healing ourselves. Like, this is a very powerful conversation, and it actually goes to show you that, I mean, you're listening to this, you're not alone. You're not alone. Forbes and I are with you. Like, one of the things that I used to think a lot was I was alone, and you're not. So thank you for listening to this episode. You're right where you're meant to be right now. I can promise you that.
Yes, and I will share something with you about your client. Let's get her on the phone. I would prefer to do it in front of a bunch of people because I think people need to witness this. But I can, and it's not me saying I can, it's not about me, just so you clearly know that. Something works through me, and that's awesome, and you'll see it when it happens. But we can heal her in a way that she would have the most beautiful life moving forward. And that seems to be part of the mission. There's a little episode that came out of one of my teachings. I'm gonna write this down here. If you go to YouTube and you type in the word Forbes, factor, and confidence, it's a 51-minute video of this one particular class that I did. And there are men and women in class, but there are about 20 women in class who had gone through literal hell. One of my girls had been molested by her dad and her grandfather. Son was kidnapped. She was abused. One of my girls in Hawaii came out to her pastor as gay. He kicked her out of the church, and then she got raped outside of the church. I'm going to tell you, the girls that you witness here, who are all laughing and smiling after 5 days with me, it's not necessarily about me. What you said is very important. It exists. You are not alone. I didn't know that until I was in my 20s. I had a very beautiful family, but apparently we didn't talk about anything. And so luckily, I moved in with a raging alcoholic in New York City in a 4-story walk-up over a Chinese restaurant. And he took me to my first AA meeting. Who knew? I don't drink. You know what? I heard the first person. That's why I speak on stages, because they're AA. First person stood up, said their name, and started talking about things that bothered them and hurt them. And I thought, oh, I know that. I know I am that person. And then I had another person say the same thing. I'm like, wait a second. I've never met these people. I don't drink. How is it that they have stories that are touching my heart? And so you're right. You have to understand that what you went through doesn't matter what it is. One, if it's not happening right now, if you are not chained to a bed, and if you are, let's get you some help. You can heal that, because you can't move on. You can't enjoy the full purpose of your life if you don't.
It happened. It's not happening, period. End of story. And it doesn't have to happen again either. It's not happening, and it doesn't have to happen again.
No, and it should serve to fuel your fire, empower you, and make you the very best version of yourself.
Yeah, girl. I love you.
All right. So at some point, we'll have another conversation about how to introduce yourself and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. I was like excited. Personally, I was like, oh God, and I know my audience would love that. So that'll be part 2.
There you go. There you go.
All right. You guys, thank you so much for listening. And Forbes, thank you so much for sharing your heart. I mean, you're vulnerable on this call. So what can I just say? What I love is that you're such a powerful woman, like power, strength, courage, bravery, boldness, right? And I mean, it's no wonder you have this love in your life, because you're not afraid to go to the places of vulnerability and actually sharing your heart, showing your heart. And you did that, this is the first time you and I have talked this way, and you did that with me. So I'm honored. I love you. I think you're amazing. And I'm just so grateful that our audience got to experience you today. So thank you so much for sharing your heart and coming on.
Well, back at you, my girl. The spirit moves people when it's supposed to. And you also are this beautiful, shining, loving example. I love that you love where you are. I'm coming to Bali. I don't have a date, but that's the next thing I want. I want to be in Bali. Yes, I want to. Well, what's one thing that I can experience that you really go, wait, that I can kind of put in my brain? Is it the food? Is it a waterfall? What's one of your favorite things?
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, it's hard to pick one. So I'm going to say there's this amazing beach in Nusa Penida. I'll share all the deets with you. Sand like powder, like crystal clear turquoise water, waves crashing, and it's so private because very few people will go down. I know your fitness. Oh my God, you're gonna do this, Forbes. Holy smokes! We are Forbesing this. We're Forbesing this right now.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's a hike. You and your freaking stud muffin man are going to hike down this hike, which very few people do because they're scared, right? I did it. I know you'll do it. I know you guys will do it. You make it to the bottom. It is like the most beautiful reward. You get down there and it is like freaking heaven. And very few people are on there because very few people will take the hike. And I know you will. So yeah, this is going to happen.
All right.
I'm so excited. Done.
On my
done
new
deal.
vision board. Done. I adore you. Thank you so much for finding me, and let's help change the world together.
Yes. Love you, sister. Thank you.
Bye, baby girl. What does SpinGym do for you?
It works your entire upper body.
It does? Look at that. Oh, really? Seriously, damn. Oh, come on. Can you bend forward? Get us. Look at this pecs flying.
This is going in the bloopers for sure.
This is a commercial. This is a little commercial. There you go.
Okay.
Oh my God. Can you turn around a little bit so we can see that back? Oh gosh, look. You see all that firing? Go all the way into the, oh, look at that. Oh my God, go baby, go. Nice Calvins. Told you it makes for a really funny show. I love you. It's like having the Incredible Hulk over here. Come here.